Hey guys, what's up? Nate here doing a quick talk on Facebook CPMs. I've had a lot of people in my community talking about why are CPMs so high? It seems like ad costs are just through the roof right now. No one really knows what's going on. There's a ton of instability. So today during this quick talk, I just want to kind of break that down really quick and kind of explain what I see and what I see as the outlook of the future on Facebook CPMs. Just to break down what CPMs are really quick. So CPMs are your cost per thousand impressions, if you did not know that. So if you take your spend, maybe around $100, and you have 10,000 impressions, that would put your CPMs at $10. That's how much it costs for you to get 1,000 impressions. CPMs are a really good way to evaluate your campaigns relative to the competitiveness of the industry and to how you're doing relative to the competition. It's a metric that usually starts off a little bit high, but then you usually see come down as your campaigns start to do better, and if your CPMs are just stupid, ridiculously low for something like a conversion metric like purchase or some higher metric like initiate checkout, well then you might have a bad audience that you're marketing to. But then for other things like brand awareness, CPMs can be generally low because you're not targeting for conversions. So it's a good way to determine the competitiveness there. So to break it down really quick, why are CPMs so high? Why are we seeing the costs go through the roof? So in my experience, back in March, we started to see CPMs actually be relatively low. The cost of advertising, especially for conversions, was very low. And why is that? Because since the market on advertising is kind of like a big bid market, since you had more people staying at home, you had more eyeballs on phones and on social media. Therefore, that created a bigger buyer market. Therefore, there's more eyeballs. Therefore, we can spread out the traffic a little bit more, a little bit better. So costs go down as more people come in and more people were buying. So it radically drove costs down. But then all of a sudden, things started taking a turn for the worse later on in the year, even though e-com was still rapidly growing. And we saw the biggest boom this year in Q2. So why is that? Very simply, right off the top, I can say confidently that we're seeing huge inconsistency because of this election between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. I think it's really obvious that because of everything that they're doing, because of the ad spend that they are putting into running their ads, it generally causes the algorithm to go a little bit crazy. And we see this just about every Q4 every year, because pretty much every store radically bumps up their budget every year around Q4. And so since right now we have two candidates that are spending heaps of amount of money on ad spend, that generally is going to cause the algorithm to go a little bit crazy, because it has to revamp or analyze based upon that ad spend and based upon the competition in the market. Because I remember everyone is competing for the eyeballs on those ads. And I can't say specifically what a candidate for president would be targeting, if it's for brand awareness or it's for some sort of conversion, something like that. Either way, it's all real estate, and everybody wants to get on that real estate. So you have two really, really big competitors, essentially, even though we might not be competing for the same thing. You have two essentially big competitors that are throwing a lot of money in front of the algorithm. So take a really quick look at what the ad spends for Donald Trump and Joe Biden are. They're actually a little bit crazy. So I have two different sources, the first one being with 2020 Campaign Tracker, to understand just the yearly budget of what's going on. You can see here that the budget for Donald Trump was $142 million, according to this tracker, for just this year. And then Joe Biden, you have $89 million. Now, I wanted to go and look at a different source as well, because I was unsure of the accuracy of this, because I don't know what pages directly it says it's pulling from directly from Facebook data, from the page transparency, but this might be more accurate. But I just wanted to go directly to their Facebook pages to actually understand what their ad spend is. So if you look here on Facebook, you have Donald Trump's page showing just since 2018, 106 million. And pretty much it looks about every 7 days or so, he's spending around 5.5 million or more. And then if we look at Joe Biden's page, you have 89 million just since 2018, almost the same amount in just the past couple of years. And then you have 8 million in the past 7 days, and that was looking from last week. And so with that election on the rise, you have a lot of Facebook updates coming out as well. Facebook trying to ensure that facts and truth are coming out and that people aren't running incorrect ads that are giving falsehoods, or that people from foreign countries aren't interfering with ad spend and with the election, so that every time, basically, no matter what, there's some sort of update. It's going to dramatically change the way that the algorithm works and the way that it thinks. And so since now you have these huge amounts of ad spend, I mean, we're looking at easily over $100 million in ad spend, probably just this year from both of them, easily over 100 million. That's a new 100 million that the algorithm sees as competition at the end of the day. So that's going to cause things to go a little bit crazy, because remember, it's all competing for real estate. That's what the algorithm and what ad spend really determines. That's why Q4 really always starts off a little bit rocky, because everyone's pumping up their budgets. Everyone's trying to get that real estate. The algorithm has to adapt to that. And so with Facebook making all those changes, that's what makes it a big thing there. Now, this is what I suspect is the biggest reason, to really just that it has to adapt to what's going on. Just like the stock market has ebbs and flows and kind of has to adapt to new buyers coming in or new big purchases happening, the algorithm does the exact same thing. It sees that surge in ad spend and millions upon millions of dollars, and it has to actually take time to reorganize and reevaluate what's going on in the market to be able to determine for every other ad account what the actual competitive number is for CPMs. And that's where it really becomes difficult, and you kind of have to really be able to evaluate what's going on, be able to evaluate what's happening in your account, and be able to adapt to those situations, because it's all competitive, it's all competition, it's all everyone competing for these numbers. And I suspect over the past couple of weeks, it's gotten even kind of worse because of the upcoming holidays. Like I said, this happens every year, and just coincidentally, we have the election happening during the holidays and the holidays themselves. So not only do you have two competitors that are probably upping their budget every single week, as we get closer to the election, but you also have people upping their budgets for the holidays to get prepared for those rapid scales. During the holidays is when a lot of people make their money with e-com. So it's going to be really important to get those spends up, get your ad account ready for those spends, because there's already a huge thing going on with bans on Facebook. So it's going to be really important to make sure that your spends are in order for Q4, because there's going to be a lot of people spending a lot of money, and we're going to see probably another huge boom to the likes of Q2 of this year, to really see some rapid growth, because people are going to want to make a lot of cash. How long do I think that CPMs are going to be high? I don't think they're going to be insanely high forever. They're especially probably going to be high for new people coming in and people that are starting just new ad accounts. The reality is that there's still a huge number of people that are at home or that are spending more times on their phone and buying. We haven't seen a real decrease in e-commerce. I mean, there was the big boom in Q2, but we haven't seen a really big increase in those numbers. I think we're going to see a huge transfer of budget after the election, because obviously after the election is over, it doesn't really make sense for presidential candidates to stop their budget. So I think we're going to see a huge transfer of that ad spend moving away from the elections, and now the advertising and the algorithm being used to what they're actually meant to do, to actually find the right customers and match them to the right ads. So I think we're going to see a big transfer of that. I think that there are a lot of people waiting for the election to be over. And so I think when that happens, we're going to see another huge surge in ad spend. It's just going to be a transfer where that ad spend is coming from. I don't know if it'll be the likes of hundreds of millions. It very well possibly could be, given that it is the holidays and everyone's going to be bumping up their spends. But I would see maybe another slight update after the election again, a reorganization of the algorithm to understand what in the heck is going on now that we see this huge pull from budget, then more budget coming in, what's it for, who are they targeting, and being able to reorganize it in that way. So it might take a little bit of time to get those CPMs back down, and there's going to be a little bit more consistency, but I think that over time it will get better. So what can you do right now in terms of the algorithm to be able to make sure that you're sustaining reasonable profits and trying just to get through this election, honestly, at the end of the day? So first and foremostly, I think you had to really remain calm. Advertising isn't like a New York Stock Exchange brokerage where everyone's freaking out and everyone's going crazy. Just like a financial advisor would tell a client that if the stock market does a little bit of a downturn, remain calm. It's all going to be all right. Give it some time. There are, principles behind the algorithm here that are going to work and they're going to figure out eventually. So first and foremostly, remain calm if there's a little bit of a swing in ad spend. And tell your clients to expect a little bit of a loss right in the beginning. There's potential. And I've seen people that have come in and not had high CPMs at all. Really just depends on what they're doing. If you're conversion campaigns, they haven't had high CPMs, or they might. But it's good as the advisor to clients or to think about your own stores that you might lose just a little bit of money in the beginning as you are testing. Now, what I have seen over the past couple of weeks, we have started a few new client accounts. And in those client accounts, all of those accounts did start off relatively high in CPMs, around the $120 mark. So that's $120 or so to get 1,000 impressions on a person. And this was for a mid-level fashion client. Now, we knew the ads were good. We knew the audiences were good. We had tested them very well, and we were just starting up a new campaign. So we knew that they worked based upon the past history, but they were starting off relatively high. So actually what we did is we prepared the client. We said, let's let this run for about a week and a half or so to 2 weeks, and let's see if everything just kind of calms down and relatively settles. And lo and behold, around a week, week and a half, CPMs gradually started to come down. And now we're seeing CPMs on conversion campaigns that maybe are top of funnel, middle and bottom, ranging from around 30 to 45. I think the highest is around 60 at like a top of a funnel, maybe to middle of funnel on conversion campaigns. But they have come down from around 120 to 30 to $45. So I think that's the biggest thing. If you know that your ads are good based upon the the rates that you're getting and based upon the results that you're seeing on maybe like on video views and on click-through rates, it might just take a week or two. You might lose a little bit of money. That's part of investing. You have to give a little to get a little, and that might just be part of it. But that's what we've seen now multiple times on multiple accounts. We have seen a slight spike in the beginning, but gradually over time, the algorithm figures it out. It figures out who you're going for. It understands the way that you are placed in the competition and gradually starts coming down. This is a great way, to look at it in terms of mitigating risk and understanding how to talk to your clients about these kinds of things. And the biggest thing that I cannot recommend enough that you do in an account to mitigate that risk is to stick to the fundamentals. Because anything we know about Facebook, they want consistency. They want to see that consistency from you. They don't want you doing all these fancy tricks and going all around and trying all these new crazy ideas out. Stick to the fundamentals of testing and tracking data, video views, ad performance, making sure your audiences are viable, because it might not be the algorithm's fault, it might be your fault. Make sure all of these things are viable and stick to the fundamentals of advertising, the way that we know that works, where you keep on testing ads and finding winners and audiences. This isn't really a video breaking down how to run Facebook ads, but for any advertisers out there, any people in knowing stores, stick to the fundamentals. It's as simple as that, because Facebook, no matter what's going on, enjoys and likes consistency. Make sure you're keeping your pages active. This is so radically important, and it was important before, before all of this happened. Make sure you have active Facebook pages. Facebook has a huge eye on what's going on Facebook pages, to where you're engaging with your audience and you're keeping those things active, and you are a real business. Now, the next thing that I would recommend in terms of what you can do now is something that we recommend to all of our clients, is to have multiple Facebook ad accounts. Don't just be running out of one. Run out of 3 to 5 at the minimum is generally what you should be running out of. Now, you should spread that budget out a little bit. You don't have to pump up budget in each one. But what we have also seen is that we start running budget in one account, it starts not going too great, and we keep that one running, but we also start a new one. And we start another one. This mitigates the risk of what we've been seeing a lot, and that is account bans. I can't speak to why every account ban that's happening, but the reality is we have seen a lot of account bans. And so start multiple ad accounts, seriously. because if one account gets banned, that doesn't mean all accounts get banned unless your business manager gets banned. Well, then that's a whole different story. But the worst case scenario, if one ad account gets banned, you still have 2 to 3 other ad accounts that are running continuously, still bringing you traffic, still hopefully bringing you profits. And so that's something that I honestly cannot recommend enough. And a big thing to think about in terms of profitability on and with advertising is expanding beyond Facebook advertising. There's literally so many other platforms out there to advertise on. I know it seems strange. I think that you can still easily make millions of dollars with Facebook ads. The point is to take your dependency away from Facebook. Set up cross-channel retargeting. Set up things like cross-channel advertising with YouTube, with Google, with Pinterest, with Snapchat, with TikTok. With all of these different platforms that you have, it is something we've been encouraging every client to do, to expand beyond just Facebook so that there's not a whole level of dependency on Facebook. And I think this speaks volumes to what's happening right now with account bans. That makes total sense, right? To not have your eggs all in one basket. If one thing fails, you still have other things to continually bring those traffic. That's what success in e-com depends on, is traffic. The only way that you're going to get traffic is either by SEO, which takes a while, or by advertising. You need to keep that traffic flow going. So I always recommend to our clients to at least be advertising on some other channel or have some sort of cross-channel retargeting going on. Thank you guys so much for watching today's talk. If you found value, please smash that like and subscribe button. It would help me out tremendously, and it helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you guys so much. Until next time.